Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I am here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my co-host and husband, Gino Barbaro.
Julia, how you doing?
I'm good.
This is going to be an interesting podcast, and just for my daughter and for Emily, I've got some extra money there for you. So make me look good, okay?
We have a very interesting podcast. Some of my children have decided to ask us some questions that we don't know about, so it'll be very interesting. Being that I'm the host of this podcast, I'm able to say pass if need. No, I won't. It's interesting. I always like to ask the kids questions, and I'm curious what they want to know about us.
So why don't we introduce the
Yes.
co-hosts to the co-hosts?
So here we have Gabriella Barbaro and Emily Hogler, and I am excited to have you on. This is a big treat for us. So welcome.
Thank you. We're excited.
So shoot.
All right.
Questions.
Our first question: who is the better cook?
Oh, this has been an interesting thing. I think it's funny because my husband, had the restaurant for many, many years, and he learned by his father, Vito, who also taught me. So I just want to be clear that, we had the same teacher. I've offered a couple times that we would have a cook-off, but somehow it never works out. And I have a feeling that's because you don't secretly want to do it. But let me finish. I'm not sure. But the thing is that one of the things as a mom, I could definitely say that I'm a little bit better at is like I cook for the audience, right? So it depends on who the judge would be. I think that matters.
Gabriella, that is a terrific question. Just want to start off by saying I love the question, and I love where this interview is going because get ready, baby. I think that I am a better cook for one reason. You know why? I was a professional. And if we're going to talk about who's better, I got paid to cook, right? That's what I'm talking about. So I went to the restaurant and people actually paid me. Now, technically, I think my wife is more creative than me. And I think she does a fantastic job. 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's really hard to do that, right? For me, it was different. I had a menu. I'd go into work and I'd do my dishes. Every now and again, I would get creative. But all joking aside, I think my wife does a fantastic job because it can become laborious all the time, cooking for you little animals. You guys are never satisfied. You guys are always eating. My food bills are just out of control, right? But it takes a lot to homeschool and to cook. So I really think, honestly, I think she's a better cook than me.
That's a sweet answer. I think you said both, that you were a better cook and I was a better cook. So I'm not sure where you're going with that. I think that you said that to make me feel better.
Well, no,
that was cute. Okay, hold on. So when you would cook in the restaurant, you would have all your sauces and all your stuff right there in front of me. Mm-hmm. And you would have someone cleaning up after you.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's a lot of stuff to say. I'm just being honest. If I had that, I don't know.
Well, the sauces are what makes a cook,
Yes.
right? I can make a nice chicken stock.
Mm-hmm.
It's ready. It's prepared, but I have to create the base, right? Yeah. Creating the base is all about cooking. I was just making the joke that people would pay me professionally. So if you're talking about like who's better, people are paying me.
I agree with that. So I have a question. Now, if we were to have a cook,
they're asking the question.
If we were to have a cook-off, what would you choose to make?
Oh, that's a good question. I would love, and my kids love this, I would love to make homemade fresh pasta with a nice marinara sauce. I do some like mushrooms in that sauce. That's what I love to make. Or I would go into maybe a nice ribeye with the béarnaise sauce. I
think you win. Michael would vote for that one.
So what would you cook?
See, the mushroom sauce. Then if Michael were one of the judges, it would have been an out. And that's my point: is that you don't pay attention to.
So you answer the question. Your
wife doesn't like mushrooms. So me at being more aware of people, I would cook what they love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
Good answer.
All right, girls. What do you think of that answer?
That was a good answer. I think it's certainly.
Hey, I have a question.
What you guys think?
You both had both of our cooking. So here's the ultimate answer.
What do you think?
Julia,
Sorry. I literally every single time I sleep over here, I have like dreams about breakfast because you make such good food. I'm sorry.
Wow. And
That's
Gabriella.
Well, it's certainly more fancy when dad cooks, but it's more efficient when mom cooks.
Oh, so Emily, you know what? I don't know the next time you're gonna come and visit us, but it may be a while from now with that answer. So we'll see what happens.
We might just have to have a cook-off.
I love that. Gabs,
Awesome.
shoot, question number 2.
Emily, go ahead.
I mean,
Emily,
okay, so this one, so you're gonna answer for what you think the other person would do. So what is your spouse most likely to waste money on?
Ooh.
Well, that's the thing is what is wasting money, right?
Ooh. Coming from a person.
Like, don't way too far into the question.
So great question, Emily, because my wife she was financially free on August 30th, 1998. That means the day she was married, the thought of money and not having to worry about it just left her mind. And she didn't have to worry about a budget.
I never really worried about it before that.
Budget,
either.
schmudget.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a tough one, but I'm very frugal. And
What am I
I know
wasting?
that's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to think of things that she honestly is not a really big, she doesn't want for a lot. So there's not jewelry, it's not any of that stuff. For me, it's the little things, the Amazons of the world, the Starbucks, those, when I see the credit card, the Bing 2558 Amazon, 3258, I'm like, what are we buying on Amazon? I hate that. That's my answer.
Okay. That's good. That's why I like Amazon, because you can't see what I buy. It just says Amazon and then the price. Sometimes over and over and over again. So what do you waste money on? Well, my initial thought was shirts.
I like my shirts.
I feel like you are just addicted to shirts lately, like button downs, all different colors. You just want more and more and more.
Well,
and I know you wear them. I know you're on camera.
I'm sitting next to this beautiful, amazing woman. She looks unbelievable.
I have a vest on.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying here to look good. I got to get some good shirts. I have to look good next to you, you know?
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome, baby.
That was
So what else am I wasting money on?
So I do. I think you waste, and also just random stuff for work, for the business. And I know it's not a waste of money, but it's just interesting to watch you spend money more freely.
And the other thing, there's one more thing that I can answer for her. I like buying guns now. I never thought I'd like guns, but now all of a sudden it's like, wow,
yes,
it gets fun.
It's a weird obsession.
The ammo.
And the ammo, right?
Oh, and also one more thing. Daddy really likes to buy books. Like
yes.
Books on the bookshelf.
I don't know if that would be waste though, but
Yes.
we should take pictures of our bookshelves all over, scattered throughout the house.
Gabriella, I'm going to give them to you guys. It's never a waste. It's an investment in our education. Just like we say, Jake and Gino, you're not paying for education. You're investing in your education. So books.
Yeah, it's funny. Now I could talk about myself. I actually don't, I don't really have something that I spend money on, like in particular. I'm not really the shoes or bags or makeup stuff. I don't really know. For me,
I just said Amazon. Ding, ding, ding,
but that's
ding.
me.
Or when we go, Gabriella, when we go to our Starbucks. Oh, this is really great question. Let me answer it this way. When we go away and we're at the airport and she comes back with $82 worth of crap. And she bought like 6 coffees, 17 muffins and 3 bagels. And where are we going? We going away for the next 3 weeks, or are we just getting on an airplane?
The worst thing ever is to be on an airplane and the kids are hungry.
Which has never
Worst
happened
thing ever.
It will never happen.
Because she packs enough food for us. That's why.
Okay, she packs and she spends $82 at Starbucks for crap.
It literally usually is 72, to be honest.
It is 72.
Yeah, and it hurts a little when I put the credit card, because I'm like, man, what did I get?
It hurts her.
But it is what it is.
Me.
You want to go on vacation. So.
Guys, I love the questions here. Yeah. Keep them coming.
Keep going.
All right. We wanted to know more about your life, like before us. So here's the next one. When/where was your first date, and what was the most memorable part of it?
Okay. So
me and Gab.
Yes, obviously.
Okay. First date. Okay.
What?
I'm like, I don't know. I just okay. Okay.
So we were in Mamaroneck. We drove. Oh my gosh, it was daytime, so maybe it wasn't after work. It was probably. Oh, okay. So I have a lot of different memories. I can't remember which one was first. So
you see what I'm saying? This question's doomed before we even answer it, because whatever I say, it's not going to match up with what she says. I'll answer real
I can
quick.
tell you from my
She
side.
was weird.
Here was one.
Weird family.
I got one here. Okay, so I worked for my dad in Mayapack,
yes.
and he had this big guy. What was his name? Gladstone.
Yes.
Steve Gladstone,
some
something like
hedge
that.
fund
He
trader.
was a big guy, and he
big trader.
came. And my dad was an AK chiropractic, and he it was like going on 2 hours, and he was working with him in the office, and I was so afraid to go in and tell him I had somewhere to be. I was supposed to go to Gino's house, and it was my first time really driving to White Plains from Mayapack. It was a little, you got to go on the highway. There's a couple different ways to go. We didn't have GPS. We didn't have all that fun stuff you guys all have now. And I finally kind of knocked on the door. I'm like, Dad, can I go? He's like, oh yeah, you could have left a long time ago. I'm like, oh, so there I was already an hour late. And I didn't want to call him because I didn't want him to think I wasn't coming. So I just left and I got lost on the way. I took the wrong highway because we had 684 and we had Taconic, and I couldn't remember which was the way I knew. So there I was in the middle of North White Plains trying to find a payphone, which I did, ended up calling him. And he told me the way to get there. And then I just showed up at his house. Like, it was probably 2.5 hours late. He was sitting on the step waiting for me.
I'm like,
you remember
wow.
that?
Of course I remember that. I'm like, wow, she stood me up. We haven't even gone out yet. She's not showing up. This is going to be a rough one.
It could have been the same day that we ended up in Mamaroneck at the shipyard there. What was it called? The marina. It was a marina.
Yes.
And we walked around talking about our strange families.
I thought your mom was awesome. I loved your mom when I met her. I thought she was young. She was funny. She was quiet. She wasn't that into herself. She, I'm glad I met her. Best day of my life. Best thing ever that I married your mom. And was it, hard in the beginning? Obviously it is, because I had a demanding job and, she worked the restaurant, but I'm so glad that I met her.
Thank you.
Aww. All right. So speaking of family, who has the crazier family?
Oh, okay. This is another funny story. So when we were dating, I remember I had a friend who worked with us, and she was super Italian, and Maria, remember Maria? And she was so funny. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. I said, our Irish family is so crazy, and his family is so perfect. I think we're going to clash, and it's not going to work out. And I literally was almost talking about like breaking up with him. Like, it's just not going to work. And she's like, Julia, I promise you, just listen to me. There is no normal family out there. Everyone has their issues, whether they hide them or not. Everyone has them. Please don't make this a big deal. And so I had to think about it for a little while, but I'm like, all right, whatever. And then to come find that they're awesome. His family is incredibly awesome, but they have their issues too. We
all have our issues. That's the great thing about family. We love our family, right? We can choose our friends, but we need to love our family. And for me, I thought my family was amazing. Then I started diving a little bit deeper, and I'm like, wow, we got some issues going on here, right? And it's great. I mean, but we all do, right? And when I started talking about Julie's family, they're great. They're wonderful. They're all loving. But we all have problems. We all have issues.
I think the difference between the Irish and the Italian, I feel like the Irish, it's all known. Everyone knows about everything. The secrets are out there. The Italians all hide it until you stumble upon it. You're like, holy smokes. You're like, wait a second. Is this true? Oh, no. Yeah, you must have misheard. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. So that's definitely the difference.
So do we answer that question well? I mean, like, really, I think both, but have a different dynamic.
Yeah. And then now our new families, I think, have a little bit of both. And my advice to just families in general is, everyone's going to insult you. Everyone's going to let you down, all of that stuff. But who cares? Just move on, forgive, get over, reconnect, because it's just not worth it. It is really not worth it. There's nothing like family. Can never replace it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it.
So that's my advice for you youngers out there who are not yet married. You will have issues. You will have all of that. With your siblings. You will argue. They'll insult you all the time, but still love them.
So let me give a little bit of also a tip. When I got married, my family was a little bit more controlling. They wanted us to go on the holidays on certain days. Try to be as flexible as possible. Try to spend time with both sides of the family. And that was the issue that we had. Like, I worked on the holidays. Remember, Gabriella? So for me, it was a little bit harder. So try to spend time with both sides of the family. Try to give quote unquote, there's no such thing as equal time, but try to do that and try not to show favoritism towards one or the other.
Just come to our house.
And then ultimately now you can all come to our
Food.
house. Yes. And the breakfast.
It would depend on the food, right? My mom was always so funny. She's like, they really do make good food. You should probably go over there. Like, okay.
Love that.
All right, all right. What is your spouse's biggest pet peeve?
Brother.
So pet peeve.
So that's a now. It's a
okay.
now. So
I'm trying to
me.
think of
It's me.
what Julia's pet peeve.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for her.
Yeah.
That's you know what? Not many things drive me nuts about her because I'm so used to everything that she does. So there's not like one thing that really gnaws at me. What? Nothing really.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
exciting.
really. I'm trying to think. Nothing really.
What about when you say something and I get insulted and I stop talking for a
Well,
day?
I don't know if that's a pet peeve or not. What really bothers me is she'll shut down, and I'm like, something wrong? No. You sure? No. You want to talk about it? No. You know, so that communication, and that's over time you get to know somebody, and I'm really pretty dunce still, so that doesn't. She needs time to process sometimes, but that's not really a pet peeve. I mean, it's just something that I could have done. I wish you'd be a little bit more open-minded and say, hey, you know what? You really shouldn't have said that, or let's talk about that. That's something that probably we could work on a little bit.
Yeah.
And what about you? What's something that I do?
Well, what are you doing right now with your fingers? Drives me insane.
Oh, yeah.
Shots fired.
Insane.
I'm like, dude, would you leave? I am a perfect human being. I need to have some things that I do wrong. So I just bother and I drive her. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You bite your fingernails. Oh, I can't stand it. And then, yeah, that drives me
That's
crazy.
a pet peeve. That's a good pet peeve. She
Yeah.
doesn't do anything like that, but the
Yeah.
pet peeve, yes.
Yeah.
Because I could say she spends hours doing her makeup. She doesn't do any of that. She spends tons of money on clothes. She doesn't do any of that. So the communication for me.
Perfect.
Great question.
Now I know.
All right. Who is the better listener and who is the better problem solver?
Ooh.
Well, you're looking at the king problem solver right here. So problem solved, you know, that's
Well, it depends on the problem.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, that makes me a worse listener because I go into problem solving mode right away, no matter what it is.
I want to fix it.
That's what I'm wired to do. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm wired to fix a problem. I'm not wired to say, well, how did this problem emanate? What can we do to make it better? And I really take a holistic approach. I just see something wrong and I want to fix it. And that sometimes is good, but sometimes it's not so good.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just should step back and really, you know, when we talk about listening, the 3 forms of listening, remember it's subjective is number 1. It's just really listening, but not active is I'm really listening to you right now. Intuitive is the third, is the highest level of listening, where you're really locked into somebody and listening to them and really not problem solving. You're in the moment. You're not worried about saying something next. You're just really diving deep into what they're saying. I've gotten much better at that with coaching, but I definitely think my wife takes the cake on that one.
On the listening. So yeah, so I'm going to say I'm a better listener for sure. But you've come a long way. Like it's pretty impressive, actually.
It's only taken me 20 years, you know.
That's
what I'm saying?
okay. As
Sooner
long
or
as it
later.
happened. As long as it happened, it's okay.
Yes.
But the thing is with fixing, sometimes it's, you know, especially as a parent, you almost want to let other people take care of it themselves. So it's your immediate reaction is to fix stuff, is to fix what's going on. If everyone's yelling and screaming in the other room, I'm going to run in and fix it. And sometimes you have to learn to like hold back and let the other people take care of the situation. But as far as my husband and I working together, and if there is another issue, like the computers aren't working or the camera's not working or something, then I think that I have that better ability than you do.
Emily and Gabriella, the hard thing as being a parent to me is I want to fix stuff and I don't want you guys to fail. But that, like Julia said, I'll give you an example. Michael started school and he was working with RAND partners and he was having problems underwriting and having problems understanding it. And he would always come to me and ask me for the answer. And what I've learned is let them struggle. You have to let you guys struggle and really figure it out a little bit yourselves. And then we're here as sounding boards to help you out. Because if you come and ask mom and dad all the time, how do you do this? How do you do this? And we give you the answer without you struggling, it doesn't lead to your growth. So that's in the beginning, I was telling Michael all the questions and I was helping him out, but I'm like, Julia said, you know what, you're problem solving, you're helping, but maybe let him struggle a little bit. And then when he became frustrated and then he created the solution for himself, that was like, wow, the aha moment for me.
I mean, Gabby, you've seen us. What do you think?
I don't know,
Listening.
Donna. I think I asked the kids that and they said the opposite. They said Julia was the better problem solver and Gino was the better listener.
Well, I don't know, because I think that mom just whenever she started doing this coaching thing or whatever you want to call it, I know, I would just say something and she would just ask me a million questions and I get so mad. I'm like, why are you asking me all these questions? Just tell me what you want, what I want to hear.
Yeah.
But I think that eventually, like when I really do need to actually solve a problem, those questions, like the listening part, will lead into the problem solving part. So
That's
I
awesome.
do think you both kind of have that though.
So in my wife's, what I say, in her defense, she's around the kids a lot of the day. And she can't have the patience that I can, right? When I walk in, the kids, I can sit there and listen. But when the kids are badgering her 24/7, she gets to a point where it's like, come on, guys.
That's why I like to vacuum.
I was just thinking how
Because
much
when
I
you
do.
vacuum, everything is just muffled. You know,
Okay.
I told Gabby that the other day and she didn't understand me.
Oh, I did, but I just don't like the vacuum because I can't talk your ear off. That's why.
You see, so
Because the
that
kids just are just, it's almost like they're dancing around the house, but meanwhile they're fighting. I just can't hear it, you
I
know.
like that.
So what's up? What's up next?
All right. What is your favorite weird habit / trait of your spouse's?
There's a lot of weird things.
Once again, I mean, weird. I don't know. Weird. You go first.
Oh gosh.
Or it can just
Okay.
be like a trait. It doesn't have to be weird or anything.
Yeah.
Well, one of my wife's traits, I mean, she never really complains. Only thing she complains about is being tired. That's the only thing that she complains about. But as far as traits, she gets whatever she has to do get done. She never complains of, oh, I got to cook lunch again, or I got to do the laundry, or I got to take the kids to this place. That's an amazing trait to have because she's taking full responsibility. You know, she decided to have 6 kids with me, right? Now that you have that decision, you need to take responsibility. And I think that's what's made her a successful parent and a successful person, by taking that responsibility and saying, you know what, the world stinks. It's everyone else's fault. You know, taking responsibility, I think, is one of my favorite traits.
Thank you. I think with you, it is the, you know, it's kind of like getting everyone going and doing something, because if it were up to me, all my kids and my husband knows that I would just hang out at home and just be completely satisfied. So it's a full day work. You put all your effort, all your passion into working. You come into the house, you're like, come on guys, let's go to the beach. And like, without that, I would literally not do anything. So, and probably my kids wouldn't either. So I really do appreciate that, because I know that is so, it does take a lot of effort to get that going too. So
Thank you.
yeah. We're finding
right.
out a lot on each other here.
I was just saying, you guys are being so nice to each other. I was expecting you guys to like drag each other.
We're pretty nice to
Okay,
each other in
so
general.
When did you first know you loved your spouse, and when did you tell them first?
Well, I have, I'm not going to go with the love part, because I can't ever figure out when it turns from just really liking a person to loving. So I think the love part actually does really come after marriage, which is really interesting. But I remember, we weren't even dating yet. So I'm going to go there because it's just a story in my head. So they had, so when Gino bought Tony's, the restaurant that I worked at, he bought the restaurant that I worked at, by the way. So I technically was there longer. I remember that they had closed for a couple months because they were renovating, and I was working somewhere else. And his mom had called us all in to do the schedule. And I went back, and, you know, there was construction going on all over the place. It was pretty messy. And so there she was with her big calendar on the remember that, on the granite countertop, and all the girls were all sitting there. We're all friends. And she's talking about, you know, the schedule, what days we all want. And there comes Gino and his brother. They were a mess. They were working, you know, construction working, and he had his work boots on. He had an old hat on. He was very like dirty in that sense. And him and his brother were laughing. And I remember thinking, well, I've never seen him like that before. And it made me like, I couldn't stop watching them for some reason. And I remember thinking like, wow, this guy seemed really cool. And I was thinking, and as I was doing that, I missed out on all the days that I wanted to work. And I got stuck working a double on Friday, which turned out to be fine. But I just thought it was funny. Your mom's like, Julia, are you gonna be working? And I'm like, oh. And I said, yeah. I didn't realize. So he had distracted me so much that I lost the days I wanted.
She would knock stuff over as she was walking by me, and she was like such in the clouds. I remember that.
Yeah, you made me. Yes. He always made me nervous, and I would always drop stuff, and I would always bang into things. And he thought I was super klutzy, and I'm like, no, I'm not klutzy. And for years, he thought I was klutzy, and I know it wasn't.
She still breaks stuff all the time.
Yeah, so, sometimes you still make me nervous.
So for me, that's a good question, because once you start talking to somebody and when you pick a significant other that you want to spend the rest of your life with, I loved her story. She wanted to have a family. I liked that. She wanted to have 5 kids. She wanted to stay home. And I didn't talk about homeschooling yet, and then the commitment, I called her really lazy in another podcast, right? When we first got together. And I meant
really lazy.
I meant that in the way that what she does now to what she did then. But she was a hard worker also, looking back at it. She did the doubles, right? She worked a couple of jobs. She worked with her dad. So I liked her work ethic from that perspective. And I remember, when she would come in, she was beautiful also. So I fell in love with how she looked, loved the blonde hair, but I liked everything, about her as far as what her goals or what she wanted out of a marriage.
It's funny because, like I said from earlier, coming from an Irish family, he had a super Italian. I used to tease him every time. We weren't dating yet, but we would flirt a lot. And every time there was like a Guidette come in, I'm like, oh, that's your type right there. He's like, you think so? I'm like, oh, definitely. Meanwhile, here we are.
Thank God that's not my type. Thank the Lord.
But it was fun. It was we had a great time working together for years. I just adored it. I used to leave my sweater in the back, so he would notice it. Stuff, silly little things that I would do. Mm-hmm. So all that was fun. Yeah.
Aww. What does your spouse do that calms you down?
So for me, it calms me down, and it really annoys me sometimes. She's really calm, right? She'll be like, don't worry about it. Like if I see something's really hurting me, she goes, just relax. I'm like, how can I relax? Well, maybe I should relax, And she's like, tries to put off this air of like confidence, and it's like, great, that works. But then when I really think about it, it's like, yeah, we should be doing that. And it doesn't seem like she ever worries about stuff. Like, when we're growing and we're paying bills and all, and I'm like, years ago, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to make enough money. I'm not sure if I should leave the restaurant. She had that calmness about her. Like, you know what? Let's just try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? So being very supportive, I thought really helped me out to make this transition from the restaurant into what we're doing now. And also the expectations of, hey, if we can't afford it, it's okay. We don't need that extra car. We don't need that extra dress. We don't need that extra thing. You're doing great. And also being supportive, because I had a tough job at the restaurant. I worked on the weekends. I would work during the holidays, and, we missed out on a lot of functions. I'm not going to lie to you. So I remember coming home a lot at my house and having parties and all the families there, and I'm the last person there. So, how does that make her feel? I felt bad, but I had to work. That's what my occupation was. And for her to be supportive of that really means a lot to me.
Thank you. That was a great answer. I forgot the question. I remember it. So it's funny because you said that in the beginning about that I'm calming if there's something wrong with you. I know that I irritate all of you by asking, is it better than yesterday? I would drive you guys crazy, right? If you have a backache, if you have something wrong, well, is it getting better or is it getting worse? And then we'll go from there. So yes, the calming does make a difference. And, there's no point in overreacting. And I do overreact quite often. But when it's really important, I try not to. But as far as for him, I think just the same thing, kind of like the support that he brings. I don't have to worry. I went shopping today for Christmas. I didn't have to worry. And I was so thankful when I got in the car that I didn't have to worry about the bill. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that's actually very incredible. That's something that I don't have to deal with because I know that he works really hard for that. And I really appreciate that.
Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
Hey, Wheelbarrow Profits family, are you struggling with ways of teaching your kids about money and financial literacy? Gino, I think we have something to help them. Tell them about it.
We've been hard at work creating the Jake and Gino Youth Academy. The Academy takes a deep dive into good money habits, setting up a budget, investing, taxes, the difference between an asset and a liability, and so much more. This is a great opportunity to spend time with your children, to be their role model when it comes to money and investing, and learn how to set them on the right path to financial success.
If you want more information on how you can become the next Youth Academy member, visit www.jakeandgino.com/education to begin your journey to financial freedom.
As we like to say at Jake and Gino, people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better.
And we're back. Shoot.
Okay. So the next one we're going to do is, what is the most inspiring thing your spouse has said to you?
Wow, that's a
Oh
great one.
Gosh, I wish I had these before.
I know.
Inspiring.
Inspiring.
You know, I think it was later on. See, we've come so far, and I want to be clear. So early on, when we first were married, up until somewhat recently, our relationship was very different. We weren't as open. We weren't as we were supportive to each other, but not like we are now. And so I think just him supporting and encouraging me to do what we're doing right now, you know, to be at the boot camps with his company, with Jake and Gino, that actually is a really big deal to me, because, you know, it's kind of like I got it at home. I can figured out how to take care of kids and do all that. But all of this that I'm doing with the community, with the Jake and Gino community, is very, very foreign to me. And he's so supportive. And this is something never, ever would I've ever done before, because I'm petrified of people speaking in front of people. So I think that has been the biggest impact for me.
And for me, one of the things that drives me nuts about your mom is when I ask somebody, what does he or she do for a living? And she's like, I don't know. So trying to explain to her what I was doing at Jake and Gino is like trying to draw a Venn diagram. It's like the most complicated thing in the world. She didn't know what I was doing, right? So
None of us did, Dad. It was a big joke for like 3 years. None of us had any idea.
Is it
what
like
you were
too
doing.
late to ask?
So I really don't know how
I
to
wish
explain
that,
it either.
okay, so I wish that there was like a one sentence. My husband is you know what I mean? Because before you had the restaurant, my kids thought every other dad also had a restaurant for some reason, the little guys. And it was very adorable. So now what it is. So my daughter, Laura, who is 6 years old, she literally pretends she's a podcast host, and she is a co-founder of Jake and Gino. So I think that's pretty cool.
So for me, it's December of 2017, and we're driving from my mom's house in White Plains to Cranford, New Jersey. It's a meetup. There's around 60 people. A 1 hour drive takes 2 hours and 40 minutes. We finally get there, and there's a meetup, and I'm presenting there. And I do a good job. You know, I remember the audience was great. The meetup was really nice. But afterwards, people are going up to mom and saying, well, your husband's did a great job, and he's whatever. And, you know, she came over to me and she's like, wow, like, you've done a great job with these people. And what do you really do? And the fact that she started inquiring about life coaching was inspiring to me, because it means I'm touching people and I'm affecting people's lives. And the way she was so engaged with that and finally realized that, you know, this is what he's doing. He's not out there just trying to make money, but he's giving back to others. That was inspiring to me.
No, I remember that day, and that was incredible, because those people had, you know, tears in their eyes saying, thank you for sharing your husband. And I'm thinking, holy smokes. I thought, okay, let me find out what he does.
Really figure out now.
I think it's time.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that in particular is really, that was kind of like that moment where I changed a lot, because I realized that, you know, my husband was part of something pretty incredible.
All right, here's a kind of cheesy one. What is your spouse's most repeated phrase?
Oh, I mean, I know mine, right? I know the one I repeat. You know, I say, you know, a lot, you know.
You know.
I can actually ask Gabriella. Gabriella, what is our repeated phrase?
It is, you know, like, let me tell you, you know,
You know,
Stop saying
I
it.
was
Just
gonna say,
stop
if it's not, make it happen. We
Yes.
get the merch back.
Yes, make it happen. But you know what's really funny when you ask that question? Julia doesn't annoy me. So there's nothing that really stands out, right? If you're a couple and you really annoy each other, maybe you have to take a step back and say, well, why does that person annoy me? She might say something repeated, but I like to hear her. I love to listen to her. So anything that's coming out of her mouth, I don't really register it as, oh, it's so annoying that she's saying. Why does she keep saying that, right?
That's true.
I was
Gabby,
just wondering if there was one thing that really
that annoys. Not
Yeah.
really. Gabriella, does something I say bother you? Like get
No,
annoying?
not particularly. No.
Okay. Just curious.
Make it happen. I like that. Make it happen.
That's one phrase I've
Better
actually
be.
never
I
said.
mean,
I accidentally said it the other day, and I like stopped. I was like, what?
It's all over our house. People have bands on their wrists, on their shirts, on their hats. It's right.
Every now and again,
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll make fun of my wife. I try to stay humble, and and I'll call myself the G Dad. A lot of people in the Jake and Gino call me the G Dad, right? G Daddy. So I'll say that, and I even have a shirt from a student, and I'll wear it, and she gets really annoyed by that. But
I don't get. Okay, hold on. Let's clear this. I actually think it's really cute when other people call you that,
Yeah,
but when
that's
you
what I'm
call yourself that,
it's just,
then it's a little weird.
It's weird, but it's enjoyable. I get to enjoy. I get to revel sometimes.
I do
right?
love when grown men call you that for some reason. I just think it's so funny.
So anybody out there, down below in the show notes, leave a comment, say the G Dad.
the G Dad.
Awesome.
Okay, wait. Speaking of the merch, who has the better sense of style?
Oh, without a doubt, my wife has the better sense
I don't
of
think
style.
so.
Yeah.
I think you're so into the stylish
Mm-mm.
going on.
I just need the shirts.
The
I can wear
yeah,
shorts and
that's true.
flip flops all the time. I don't, and I'm actually yesterday I was wearing these gray pants from Tommy Bahamas.
I think you're more into the stuff.
And I'm like, Jewel, what do I match? How do I match this stuff? So I mean, as far as style goes, I don't know.
I'm so disagreeing with this. It takes so much effort for me to. I would wear the same clothes every day. I would wear jeans and
You just wear black.
black shirt and jeans, and I'm happy. But I feel like here in Florida, I have to wear colors.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
but you are into the jackets. You are into the suit jackets and the button downs and the flip flops. And
It's
you
not
got
that
all this. Gabriella agrees with me. You
not
are
that
so
I'm
into
into it.
style. It is crazy.
But it's not that I'm into it. It's that
you
I
were
have
so
to do
into it.
I have to do it. I need more ammo. I can't just show up in a podcast looking
Gino,
beautiful. And
okay.
going,
We watched Burn Notice
Okay.
for months, and every single time that show came on, I got to get that suit. And you
Dude.
actually called your mom to go to Bloomingdale's in White Plains to find you a light colored shirt.
Michael Weston
Suit.
is looking great. I mean, like that
Okay.
suit is great. I mean, he's got these light suit colors.
That's my
I can't
point.
find them. The
Have you
pandemic.
ever heard me say, "Oh my gosh, I got to get that outfit"?
COVID has actually destroyed the market for men's suits. They're all dark suits. I'm in Florida. I need light colored
We
suits.
got to go down
out
to
there.
Miami. We'll go down to
Yes,
Miami and
I
get
know.
one. I
Yes.
completely think it's my husband
Okay, you're
and
right.
his style.
Okay,
You know
yeah,
that.
okay, you're right.
I happen to have curly hair, so it looks like it's always done up. I really don't do anything to it. It just happens to just go there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
All right, well,
Gabriella,
speaking of clothes, hearing on listen to this question, what is your spouse's worst article of clothing?
I would say for me that G Dad shirt. I mean, I can answer that for her. The G Dad shirt.
yeah. Well, okay. The G-Dad shirt is cute because it came from somebody else.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Where's article of clothing?
You got them on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. Like, she doesn't look bad in anything. Like, I can't say, oh, wow, you look, looks terrible on you, because everything she puts on. I mean, she's got the figure. After
Well,
6 kids, she still is rocking the physique and all. Bathing suits. I'm trying to think of her bathing suits. Sometimes she could step it up, a game with the bathing suit a little bit. I love
Just
to see.
boring.
I love to see bikini every now and again.
Oh,
you
okay.
know what
I
I'm
just want
saying?
to tell you a story about that real quick. Bikini story. He said that once. I'm like, all right. I went down the street to this super expensive boutique and I bought 3 bathing suits. And it came to $250 and he flipped out. He's like, how much did you spend? And I went and went to try to return them. I couldn't return them.
And
then you were so upset. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
See, I remember it.
Really?
Yes. And I thought I don't really want to wear these ever again.
And you didn't wear them?
No.
So Gabriella, when we get back inside, she's throwing on some bikinis.
It
for
is
me, all right?
winter. It is winter.
It's okay. I want to see what $250 bought me.
Great. We'll do that.
Wow.
So I could tell you, you actually always look good. Like you always have style, when your shoes run out, it's like, let me go buy a new pair. You know what I mean? I actually will wear things until they have a hole in them because I just like comfort. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're very different in that way.
All right. So what do you think your spouse's short and long-term goals are?
Is this a Jake and Gino
Wow,
podcast over here?
That's a goal.
We tried.
So short and long term, that's a tough one because goals can be comprised into family goals. I mean, short term, I would have loved to have another kid, but that's not happening, right? So that short term goal is out the window. For us, it's I think continuing to grow to work together. We love working together, and we're growing closer together as we're working. I think coaching other students in the Jake and Gino community has been amazing for us because we're learning through that process and helping others. I'd love to continue to be a role model for people who want to have kids and want to have families. That's one of my role models. And as far as monetary, there's monetary goals. We don't really have any goals on that. It's just to continue to buy apartments, stay in Florida, stay in this house. I don't really need a lot of material possessions. I'm happy with what I have. But, as far as the family goes, continue to homeschool. That's really important, right?
Yeah.
Any other goals for you?
Well, it's funny that you have a very complete answer on goals. Mine is so simple that I just want to get through the day where my kids are fed. We get to where we have to go safely. We get home safe. My goals are very simple. And like when I wake up, it's just basics, food, shelter, clothing for my kids. And long-term goals, just keep doing what we're doing with the Jake and Gino and have our kids more involved and,
But Emily, that's an important question for everybody because most people who are listening to this podcast, they don't lack motivation. They lack clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the clarity for the family of what we want to do. And a goal is not something you want to achieve. That's not what the ultimate thing for the goal. What you want for the goal is you want to become the person you need to become to hit that goal. So if that's becoming a better parent, well, what do you need to become to be a better parent? So you have to grow into that person. So that goals are something that you want to set, whether you achieve them or not. That's not the relevance of it. What you need to become as a person is what's really relevant. And then when you hit that goal, you set another one. You keep raising the bar. You keep trying to get out of your comfort zone. You don't want to wear the same clothes with holes all the time, right?
I didn't say I wear them with holes. I said until they have a hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sound like a hobo, but that's what the whole thing with goals are. You really need a roadmap for your life. If you don't have a focus, if you don't have a target, how are you going to hit that target? So that's what I think goals are really important. And I don't want to put any more monetary goals, but I just want to see where our life is going to continue to go and continue to progress.
Yeah, that was a very good answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, 1 out of 10 is not bad for me, right?
All right. What is your spouse's basic philosophy on life?
I could say my own philosophy as far as my wife's philosophy. This whole COVID thing really changed us a lot when we came down here, and I think hers is really responsibility, right? If you want to go out, take responsibility for your life, be safe, be responsible. I think that is part of what yours is.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I guess so. It's a hard question.
Come on, what is it?
For you? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question. Yes, responsibility, of course. We're very religious in a sense, so I trust that God will guide us in the direction that He wants us. We have a lot of trust, so that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
But that responsibility, again, that's for me is huge as well.
And
I know it's for you too.
Do unto others, and I think there's some karmic quality in life. And if you're doing out and you're helping others, it's going to come back to you. And treat others as you'd want to be treated, or as they want to be treated. Treat them, with respect and kindness, because it's going to come back to you. So I think that's part of the whole philosophy. And one of the things also is trying to be more charitable with us. Now that we have more money and we're doing better, it's not just about us. That was hard early on, because when you're only worrying about yourself, you're trying to pay the bills and all, you're consumed in yourself. But I think we're just a microcosm. If we can go out there and share our wealth and be stewards and teach our children to do that I think is more something part of my philosophy.
Because too, as the kids see us, if you truly do put God first, and then in our situation, each other as spouses, and the kids see that, I think hopefully, as they're listening, they will learn from that. And hopefully in their life, they will also apply that.
All right.
All right. I want to see if you know this about each other. What is your spouse's favorite color?
My husband's is pink.
Now that I'm down in Florida, I rock the pink shirts sometimes. They look good with the blue. I'm not gonna lie. My wife's guaranteed is black. I mean, that's a given. She got black pants on, black vest.
It's winter. It is winter, and I think it's 60 and chilly. So
16 chilly. That's all I gotta say.
no, it's funny. Like we were talking about with the clothes before, and the style. He is into the style. If pink is in and blues, he has pink and blue on right now. He is so into it. To me, sometimes if I don't feel like wearing it, it just doesn't look good on me. It's really weird. You do feel the colors that you're wearing, and sometimes I just want to wear the black, it makes me happy sometimes.
All right, here's a would you rather question. Ready?
Okay.
Would you rather go on a date at Home Depot's or a bowling alley?
So definitely Home Depot. And I think we've done it many times before. I remember my grandma used to, when the kids were little, we would get her to come over, and it was so much work for her because there were so many of you and you were all loving grandma. It was just like, like we would come back and her hair would be messy and the house would be like completely trashed. But she would be like, what'd you guys do? And I'm like, well, we did. But I remember one time we literally did go to Home Depot. And she was like, that's what you guys did? And I'm like, well, we really needed to get some stuff. And we don't get to go out that often.
Well, you have 6 kids. It's hard to schedule time to leave everybody and go out.
When all the guys are little, you know what I mean? It's hard. And that's why that makes me laugh, actually.
I'm a Home Depot person myself. Bowling, I love bowling, but
for some reason it seems dirty. I don't know why. It just
you had to get somebody else's shoes.
It just seems like I just don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And the shoes are probably not black, right?
Yeah. Yes, that helps.
Yeah. All right. Would you rather have hard fails or easy wins?
Hard fails or easy wins?
So,
I would rather have hard fails.
Hard fails lead to easy wins.
Right.
Of course you said.
Of course they do.
Yes. So hard fails are hard when you're going through them. And the problem is somebody who becomes successful in life looks at the hard fail and says, there's an opportunity in that hard fail. God always puts something in front of us for a reason. Why did I fail at this? Why didn't I get what I wanted? And if we can extract ourselves and really do some deep thinking and maybe some listening to what he's sending to us, that'll really help us out. I can give you one specific example. When I was at the restaurant, I remember we got audited by the state, and it was really difficult. And I remember there's a lot of problems there. But then ultimately, I even went to go see Father Quinn, our priest at the time, to go into confession. And I'm talking to him and I'm blabbering and I'm sad and all. And he looks at me and he goes, what are you complaining about? You got no problems. I'm like, I'm here, like telling you. And I saw the opportunity there where I'm not the only one who's having a rough time. There's a lot of us out there that are struggling. It's not just me. So for me, I saw the opportunity that I can't continue on with the restaurant. It gave me a kickstart. I got away from my fear and my inner self to anger. Fear holds you back and you don't take action. Anger, you start taking action, and then that clarity will actually propel you. But that was where there's a hard fail. I failed myself. I was down on myself, but someone showed me that I wasn't the only one. And then an opportunity, like, okay, I can do something else. So for me, that was huge.
Yeah. Sometimes when you have an easy win, it's your potential is not shown. You'll just go for anything easy, and you don't challenge yourself. No one else is challenging you, and you just decide to take the easy road. And I really think people miss out on that, because when you try something really big and you fail at it, you learn so much along the way, and you'll miss out. You miss out on all that stuff. So even if it's, something for work or school or the kids or whatever, just go big.
This is why socialism does not work and will never work. Because if Gabriella and Emily are both going to school and Emily's working really hard and doing great, and Gabriella is hanging out, painting and making her jewelry, right? But not doing any work, but they both get a B. What's going to happen? It's not fair. You're going to be disenfranchised. You're not going to be motivated to do the work. Then the next semester, Emily doesn't do anything. And it's the same thing with opportunities. if something's given to you and you don't work hard for it, you don't appreciate it and strive for even greater things. That's why, to me, the aspect, that mentality of we're all equal, it's equality of opportunity, not the equality of the outcome. We all should be merited an equal opportunity to go to your classes or to open a business. But then we're not guaranteed the outcome, because maybe one of us is a trust fund baby and one of us comes from nothing and we really have something to prove. So let's make that distinction. So I think that's really important.
Nice.
I think I know the answer to this one, but would you rather have more money or time?
Time.
As you get older,
because time, you can make more money. Right.
Wow, she listens to the Jake and Gino. That's pretty good, right? Time is the most precious commodity.
Yeah.
Bill Gates may have $100 billion. I may have $1 million, but we all have the same amount of time. And people who are truly successful know how to budget their time, know how to create boundaries, and know how to utilize their time to their advantage. So that to me is important. Emily, last question. Give it to me.
All right, it's actually the last question. What do you guys think your kids do while you're out in a podcast or on a date or shopping or something?
Okay, so I think Laura and Casey are on the iPad, kind of bickering. Veronica is in her room on Pinterest doing crazy gymnastics moves that I actually look at her and my back hurts, and I just ask her to stop because I just can't look at her anymore. She's super flexible. I think Sophia is probably sitting next to you guys with her hands on her head. Thinking that I'm talking about her. No, but she usually, I would say, would be on her phone with her friends. Michael is playing guitar upstairs,
Or video games,
but probably guitar right now. And
not reading.
Gabriella will be painting.
Wow.
Far from the truth. I mean, honestly,
Pretty accurate.
It's almost like I have it in my mind, like a vision of each child. And I could see what they're doing. And
I
maybe
feel like
we'll be going into the freezer and seeing if there's any ice cream.
So Gabrielle, I need to mention this also. This is one of the reasons why I've been fortunate and blessed. I don't have to worry about that because mom is taking care of that. So it's such a relief for me that I don't have to worry about what's going on in the household, that's being taken care of, that I can focus on my business and focus on whatever I'm needing to do. That's a huge stress relief for me. So then, that's just, to me, that's amazing. So it needs to be said. So, for all those moms out there that are working at home, I always ask, do you have a job? Oh, what I mean by that, are you working outside the home, right? For those moms that are working in the home and taking care, that's an amazing, I don't want to call it an endeavor. That's an amazing vocation. And, I just want to celebrate you for doing that, because what she's sacrificed over the last 20 years, my wife, being able to raise 6 kids, homeschool them, nurse the kids. I mean, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations, and sometimes there's loneliness. So if you're listening to this, you're not the only one out there. Trust me, there's a lot of you out there that are doing the greater good. And now the proof is in the pudding. Once the kids grow up, you can say, wow, I put time and effort into them, and this is the results that I've achieved. So I want to ask you guys a final question. What have you guys learned from this podcast, each of you, from these questions?
Go first.
Yeah, I honestly had never really heard when you first had met and all that stuff. So I was, to be quite honest, really excited to hear that.
It's interesting, Gabby, because a lot of people don't really ask the question. And I think that's funny because, even if your parents are older, you don't know a lot about them. And so, that's something maybe everyone could do. It's the holidays. Everyone can just ask the question to your mother, your father about just something that you don't know about them, because a lot of times it's just the time goes by and you just assume everyone knows your story, but they don't. And I think that's interesting.
And we all have a story. Everyone listening on this podcast has an amazing story, and it needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Emily, you.
All right. I think just all in throughout all the questions, it's really interesting to see how you guys as a couple just your lives have meshed more and more as you've been married for longer. Like when you were talking about, you actually asked him what he did for a living, but I mean, and then you said something about, I think it was when we asked, would you rather have more money or time? And you said, oh, time to make money. And you're like, oh, you listen to the podcast. Those kind of things, that his occupation, you probably wouldn't have had those experiences because maybe, you weren't interested in this, whatever Gino does, but until, and then you get that experience of learning how to do that. And then Gino just seeing what it's like to mother and homeschool children.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how much your lives mesh. Even after you're married, you continue to like even discover each other.
Yeah. That's awesome.
There's some things I discover every day about my life. I'm like, wow.
Well, we discover a lot on the podcast. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I never said that before.
So what I want to do is I want to thank you too for
Yes.
asking the questions, for listening to us, and for all the listeners out there. I'm going to leave a link down below for the Youth Academy, because that's one of our missions here at Jake and Gino. We honestly, my goal is to create people with financial intelligence, and I always say people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. Right. And that's what we're trying to do. It's not just about making money. It's about taking control of your financial life, and you can build an amazing life. And when you become financially free, you can get on a podcast with your wife Friday afternoon and not worry about making money, but sharing your story and trying to inspire and to motivate others to create a beautiful life. So down below, click on the link to the Youth Academy. And I just want to thank you two guys for taking the time out, asking these tough
Yes.
questions.
Thank you, girls. It
And-
takes a lot.
And not embarrassing us that much. That's the great part.
I'm glad
So-
it wasn't. The questions, some of them were pretty challenging, but they were awesome. So thank you, girls. That was
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care, everybody.